It has been 25 years since the WonderSwan launched on March the 4th, 1999. I like the WonderSwan. I'm not like a die-hard WonderSwan fan or anything, but I like the WonderSwan. It has a pretty quirky library. It's a weird handheld in terms of its hardware capabilities, and so it got a pretty interesting library with a lot of simulation games, a lot of anime games, RPGs, not so much action, but that's perfectly fine. I have about 2 dozen games, so I thought why not talk about them a little bit and share which ones I think are worth checking out and which ones I still need to play because some of these are still on my backlog. So yeah, I'll get into that in a second, but first I have a very brief little vlog update. I got a haircut. First time in more than 5 years I got a haircut. So that's a it's a bit of a change. My dad passed away in late January, and so we had a little memorial get together with friends and families, and I figured I should look a little bit more presentable. So yeah, I got my hair cut, and that's all I really want to say about that right now. So let's talk about the WonderSwan. Now this is my WonderSwan color. This is the Final Fantasy 1 version. The WonderSwan had a lot of unique models, many of which were bundled with specific games, and this came with the Final Fantasy 1 remake, remaster, I don't know what you want to call it, but now, if you know the WonderSwan, you know that the Swan Crystal is the version that you really want to get because it has the better screen. And playing on the color kind of sucks. Now, I don't really like handhelds in general. I think it's not the most comfortable way to play video games on a tiny screen. You know, your hands like that. But the WonderSwan is particularly crummy because the screen is very prone to ghosting. You gotta hold it up to the light just right and get the, what do you call it? I don't remember what you call it, but there's a little dial to adjust the screen. And yeah, I have not played on the WonderSwan real hardware in quite some time because I just don't really like it. But I used to. I played a lot of Wildcard, a lot of Romancing Saga, and there was one day I actually played through the entirety of Final Fantasy 1 right here in one day on the WonderSwan hardware, and I had such a migraine at the end of it. I thought I was going to throw up. And I mean, you probably shouldn't play through Final Fantasy in one day anyway, unless you're a speedrunner or something. But yeah, this is a nice version of Final Fantasy, though, I have to say. The graphical updates were really nice. The spell animations are much faster, and it's mostly accurate to the Famicom mechanics. Like from the Game Boy Advance version onwards, they started casualizing it some more. Even this version is a little bit more forgiving in some respects, but very nice version of Final Fantasy. Probably the best way to play the game, in my opinion. The PlayStation 1 version is based on the WonderSwan, so that's also a decent way to play it, but the PlayStation version has load times. Final Fantasy 2, pretty similar deal. A very, very good version of the game. The main issue I have with this one is I think that weapon proficiency levels a little bit too quickly. Basically what they did is if you gain proficiency at the end of a battle, you get a bonus 10 points to the proficiency, which is probably intended to discourage you from spamming attack over and over to accumulate points that way. Instead, you can just get your +1 proficiency, and that gives you 11. But yeah, you level a little bit too quickly. However, again, spell animations, graphics, much better, and remains pretty accurate, unlike the later versions, which remove some mechanics like magic penalties from equipment. Final Fantasy IV. Now, this is actually a really bad version of Final Fantasy IV. It's notoriously buggy. The music is kind of crap. But it was a way to play Final Fantasy IV on the go. I think the GBA version is also kind of crappy. Let's keep talking about Square games. Now, Square was a big supporter of the WonderSwan, and this was one of the launch titles, Chocobo no Figina Dungeon for WonderSwan. So originally, Chocobo no Figina Dungeon came out on the PS1, and in terms of gameplay, this is pretty accurate to the PlayStation version, but I think you're better off playing it on PS1 because A, the graphics are better, and B, the audio is much, much better. And the soundtrack for this game was composed by Masashi Hamauzu, and the soundtrack is really the best part of the game, in my opinion. If you know me, you know I love Hamauzu music, so I think PS1 is the way to go, but it is a game that lends itself well to a portable console. Like if you're just playing this on the train or whatever, it's a very simple roguelite. You do carry over your level and some inventory stuff, so it's not a true roguelike. But yeah, pretty nice launch title, and it kind of exemplifies how quirky the WonderSwan library is, that they would put a roguelike as one of the launch titles. Got Romancing Saga. Okay, I like Romancing Saga a lot, and I like the Super Famicom version a lot, which is somewhat of a controversial opinion, because yeah, it's a game that has some serious flaws. Certainly anyone who's played it knows how many sprites can... I mean, just look at all the dinos on the screenshot on the top left. You get swarmed by monsters in this game. And on the WonderSwan Color, that actually causes a lot of slowdown. It's not a problem on Super Famicom. But what's neat about this version is they added some of the cut content. Romancing Saga was notoriously unfinished when it released. You could only get, I think, 7 out of the 10 Fate Stones. In this version, you can get 9, so almost all of them. And they added a battle with Shirak right there, which is a pretty cool addition. Sorrowing is a lot easier in this version. For some reason, he doesn't use his magic as much, if I recall correctly. Maybe he doesn't attack as much. It's been a while since I played this, but I did go through it. I fought Shirak. Yeah, I think I played as Barbara on the WonderSwan. Unfortunately, I don't have the remaster of Saga 1. There were a lot of Kawazu games on the WonderSwan. Kawazu was like the WonderSwan guy at Square. Many of the games that they released for the system had some involvement from him, either creatively or as a supervisor. And this, if you are a Kawazu fan, this is the game you need to play, Wildcard. Because this is the one that he had the most creative involvement in. It is actually like proto Unlimited Saga, which happens to be my favorite Saga game. So basically this is a card-based role-playing game that plays pretty similar to Unlimited Saga in terms of character growth, character progression. So, like, you take on missions. How do I explain this? You take on missions. The entire game is played with cards, so you traverse the dungeon by, like, flipping through cards, taking different paths. And you interact with the environment and monsters using cards. So, like, if you want to disarm a trap, you need to have a card for doing that. If you want to unlock a door, you need an unlock card. And your characters will have... your characters will gain new cards and increase their parameters based on the actions that you take during the quest. So it's kind of like the panel growth system in Unlimited Saga. I mean, who here has played Unlimited Saga? I have. I've played a lot of Unlimited Saga. Play Unlimited Saga. That's a really freaking good game. And if you like Unlimited Saga, play Wildcard, because I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but believe me, you need to play it. And it's also a game that is well suited to the WonderSwan because it uses so many static cards, static images, and the WonderSwan is really not good at flinging sprites around. It looks terrible on the screen. It just ghosting everywhere. But it could handle pretty high quality graphics, and the artwork is really nice in this. The artist who did the character portraits is I don't remember his name, but it's the same guy who was behind Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 12. So the character designs should be familiar to anyone who has played those games. Super cool, super unique. I think the best WonderSwan game, in my opinion. What else do we have? Any other... okay. It's stuck. There we go. Hataraku Chocobo. Now, I haven't played this yet, but I understand that this is a Harvest Moon sort of farming sim game, but it's a Kawazu game, so it's super mechanically dense, and that's kind of the reason I haven't played this yet, is I find it a little bit intimidating to get into it. Normally when I think of Harvest Moon style games, I think of like a very casual, easygoing experience, but I know with this, it's probably the kind of game that you gotta study. There's a science to it. So for that reason, I have not yet played it. Okay. This is Sotsugyo, graduation for WonderSwan. Sotsugyo was a very influential raising sim, galgame. Basically raise a group of students, get their grades up. Uzumaki Norway Simulation. I think there were 2 Uzumaki games on the WonderSwan. I don't have the other one though, and I haven't played this yet. This is Wonder Stadium 99, baseball game from Namco. Not much to say about that. Here's something I do have to say about Star Hearts. Hoshi to Daichi no Shisha. Star Hearts is a very good game. Well, maybe not very good, but it's a quality all around Zelda style action RPG. I think that the main thing that for me separates this from Zelda is, well, one, it's a bit more mechanically dense and has a lot more weapon variety. The core system of Star Hearts kind of revolves around a weapon customization system that lets you alter the attributes of weapons, such as changing the attack power, adding elemental properties to your weapons, and even altering their range of motion. So, for instance, you might pick up an axe that has a quarter slash motion, but you can upgrade that into a half slash, or even beyond that. Tons of weapon variety. There's like spears, bow and arrow, swords, little bit Dark Souls like in its weapon variety. It has a durability system, which I really wish it did not, but later in the game it becomes pretty much superfluous, because restoring the durability becomes very, very easy. But yeah, probably the closest thing you have to a Zelda game on the WonderSwan, and it's solid. I enjoyed it. I played it all the way through on real hardware, despite not liking real hardware. Digimon Battle Spirit. I think this got ported to the GBA later. It's like a platform fighter. Chopper no Daiboken. This is a top-down action RPG with randomly generated dungeons, sort of roguelite-ish, based on One Piece and one of the last WonderSwan games. This came out in late 2003, at which point the WonderSwan was pretty much dead. I think this was like the 4th last WonderSwan game. So I've been streaming this. It's not very good. It's kind of harmless, but it feels like the devs were really phoning it in terms of the gameplay. The combat is pretty poor. The hit detection is not very good. It has a crafting system where, like, you pick up herbs and you can mix different herbs together to make restorative items. But it's kind of underutilized, and the things you can make are so simple and limited that it doesn't really add much depth to the game. But it's pretty cool. I mean, there weren't a lot of action roguelikes such as this at the time. Nowadays they've become more popular, but yeah, pretty neat little curiosity. Keeping it going with the anime titles. Inuyasha Kagome no Sengoku Nikki and Inuyasha Kagome no Yume Nikki. Truly the Yume Nikki of the WonderSwan. Literally. And Inuyasha Fuun Emaki. So I have not played any of these. I would like to, but I think I'll probably emulate them instead of playing them on the hardware. I think they're all adventure games primarily, maybe with some action elements, but I'm not really qualified to talk about them. Nice artwork though. Great thing about the WonderSwan, it had pretty nice static graphics, and also a lot of kanji support. So it was great for these kind of adventure games, novel games. Novel games. Let's talk about some novel games. Terrors. This is really cool. This is a sound novel for the Monochrome WonderSwan. Of course, you can play it on the color, but if you're into lo-fi horror, you need to play Terrors. So a lot of sound novels, they used digitized photographs back in the day, and this is no exception. But because it's on the Monochrome WonderSwan, the images are reduced in quality so much that whenever a new image pops up on screen, it takes a few seconds just to register what it is that you're looking at. Because it's like how many shades of gray did the WonderSwan have? It was like 8 or between 8 and 16, I want to say. But I can't remember off the top of my head. So you have these like really, really grainy photographs of like dark, horrific environments. And it's basically a collection of short stories with branching paths. But cool thing about Terrors is it has a system, I think they call it terror points. Basically, based on the events that occur as you're reading through the story, you will accumulate these terror points, and if they get too high, then the story will automatically branch, indicating that your character has become so terrified that they get automatically sent along a different path. So effectively, you can't see all the endings simply by trying different choices. It actually matters the sequence of the choices, such that you accumulate enough terror points to go on one path, or an insufficient number of points to go on a different path. I talked about this game on Swan Shootout Radio a few years ago. It had a sequel, Terrors 2. This one is for the color. Actually, it's compatible with the black and white WonderSwan as well, Monochrome. So if you want to play it on the Monochrome, you are free to do so. And here you can see, I mean, the graphics of 1 are not this high quality, but you can get a sense of what it looks like. I'm crazy about the sound novel aesthetics of the 90s, early 2000s. I think it's so cool that developers were making use of low-resolution graphics with photographs for horrific effect. It's such a cool aesthetic. And this game sort of built on the terror point system and had a few different parameters that alter as you read that accumulate as you read through the stories. Another novel game by, I think, the same developers, or at least the same publishers, Ring Infinity. So this is based on Ring. I think it's based on the movie. The movie is based on a novel, but I'm pretty sure this is specifically based on the movie. It's another terror style sound novel. This one for the Monochrome WonderSwan. And finally, Last Alive. This was the last in Blondie's series of sound novels. What did they call them? Like novel theater, I think? They had some name for it that wasn't sound novel, trying to distance themselves or to stand out a little bit from Chunsoft's sound novels. But I think this is based on a TV drama. To me, it seems the least interesting of the sound novels on the WonderSwan, because I'm more into the horror stuff. Just 3 more games to briefly show. Mobile Suit Gundam Volume 1. And Volume 2, Jaburo. Some beautiful graphics. And finally, X Card of Fate. Anybody like Clamp? This is a card battle. Using the X characters and setting. Beautiful graphics. So yeah, that's my WonderSwan collection. It's a cool little system. There were only about a little bit more than 200 games for it, and I only have a small percentage of the library. There are quite a number of other games I would like to own and play. Maybe I'll talk about them another time or in the comments or something. But yeah, WonderSwan is cool. Let's play some WonderSwan in celebration of its 25th anniversary.